Should we start with the meeting notes then? Darcy, if you don't mind. Oh, why is everyone muted?
I guess you have to unmute people.
Yeah, I don't know how
Thank
it will
you.
happen.
I couldn't
Okay.
unmute myself.
Me either. So we want to start off by saying that this is the Municipal Scholarship Committee meeting of March 31st, 2025. And yeah, you can take it from there.
Melanie, are you unmuted? Can you unmute yourself? Okay.
I think I was unmuted, so when you clicked it for everyone, I became
Okay.
muted, but I'm good now.
Okay. So I have the minutes from the previous meeting. That was, let's see, February 20th. Okay. Thursday, February 20th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. In attendance, Eric Lopez, Darcy Hannah, Melanie Kessler, Linda Dubuque. We did the approval of the past minutes from January 27th, 2025. An interview took place for the first candidate for a new committee member prior to public meeting. Scheduling for next candidate interview will happen ASAP. Scholarship application has not been published yet, but will be live very soon. Member had to leave early, so committee business stopped for lack of quorum. Next meeting, March 17th, 2025 at 6 p.m. via Zoom, which didn't happen. And that's the extent of the notes. Approved?
Approved.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I think for this meeting, have people had a chance to log in to the email? Just want to make sure everybody has access to it because we've received the applications.
Mhm.
And then Eric isn't here, but Matt, what we did last time was that there was a form that we reviewed each application and there was a scoring system where we basically rated each of the applicants on different factors such as I think we used need-based, right? We used activities. I think we also had GPA as well. I don't remember all the details. But that was basically the form we used to walk through each of the applications.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. I haven't reviewed all of them. I got access today, and I'm about a third of the way through of the applicants we currently have in the system.
Right. And Darcy and Melanie, I don't remember if we had changes to the review form that we were going to ask to make updates. I mean, I can't remember any changes.
I think it was pretty good. I
Yeah.
think we were okay with the review form and the scoring system. Like I think it had worked. I think it worked pretty well last year.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it worked well. Yes.
Okay.
So
So I think we need to ask Eric to kind of set up that Google form again,
Okay.
so that we can start doing that. And one thing we did talk about last year was trying to simplify the IDing of the
right.
applications. So whether or not we could use like the email date timestamp or something like that. Because last year, Matt, what happened
Right.
was that Eric generated just random ID numbers to match up to the students. But it was just a lot of cross-referencing that was a little bit challenging. But if we use the time date stamp of the actual application, it would just be easier for us to quickly kind of look up that applicant and score them. And then when we talk about them, it's easy to pull up that application as well.
Yeah, and Matt, the main reason that we give them a number is so that because these meetings are open, we don't want to use the students' names for privacy reasons. So we just code it that way.
I think Matt asked to be unmuted, Cindy.
Oh,
It's over there miming his
Matt.
answers.
It's weird. What I get is asked to
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Anytime I unmute or I mute myself, I have to then
I have
unmute. Sorry,
no
my
idea
roommate's
why
came
it's
in
like
pretty loud.
this.
Yeah, it all makes total sense. I was kind of had something similar. I just going through it mentally. It was kind of going based on what I called one for the money, two for the show, three to get ready, and four to go. Just kind of determining categories based off of first monetary incentive, artistic aspects outside of school, right? Engaging in social extracurriculars as the show. Getting ready is like a plan that the student might have to like how they're specifically going to use the money, and to go is just kind of the overall like GPA graded representative of Somerville, someone we want to be, kind of carrying the namesake of this legacy and scholarship forward.
Yeah, that's creative. Like that.
Yeah.
It's why you
Um,
got me.
I wonder if it's worth looking in that in the do we have a copy of last year's, or did he just email it to us? I have such a hard time like making my way through this OneDrive.
Mm.
And I don't know if I'm alone in that, but I don't
Yeah,
know if we could
same.
just like take a look at it quickly. And I saw the emails quickly. I was out today because my kids were at home, but we don't have like a folder with the files right now. Is it just the emails that have been coming through? That's the only way to look at them currently, correct?
Right.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
think so.
Okay. Okay. I have another wondering, but I'll wait on that. But I do wonder if we could try to find the form.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I have a link in my email somewhere.
Just if we're here, it feels like so
Yeah,
that we can
and
just make it as efficient as possible.
Mhm.
yeah, and what's our timeline for reviewing? Now I have to look and see when our next meeting is.
I think it's
And so Matt, a little bit more about the process is we we review all the applications, we submit our scoring, and then just automatically the top, the top 5 or top 10 are calculated. And then we kind of just go through the top essay, the highest scores, make sure everyone's on board with the recipients of the scholarship. And then we
Yep.
also bring in any notes, if you will, if there's any applicant that we felt really strongly about, so that we can just bring it up and discuss it with the group.
Awesome. Yeah, I was about to ask you guys, there's a couple questions that I had on my own as far as this process. What's the timeline for the rest of the year as far as like making sure that we get those applications up? I know we have the April and May meetings, and I'm assuming that by May we have to make a decision for these. Correct?
Yeah, so last year it was pushed back a little bit. I think it sounds like I wasn't here the first year, but it sounds like every year we're inching back earlier and earlier.
Yep.
And so last year, I think the applications weren't even due until maybe mid-April or end of April. I don't know. So there was a little bit of a rush. I think if we could have them like a final in May to catch the seniors like before they leave, and I know
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a hassle. So I wonder if,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that we have hard dates to answer your question,
of course.
Yeah.
and
What's
we
our
should probably
deadline
set them
again for applications?
today.
Today.
Today. Okay, so our next meeting is April 17th. So is that realistic to have our discussion then, having everyone review all the applicants by April 17th?
I would say yes, as long as
Yes.
we have the form,
Yeah.
like as long as we
Yeah,
have
as
a
long as we get the
rubric that we're
form.
using.
So
Yeah.
I think that's something that we can, I can email Eric after the meeting and then ask him to send that out.
Yeah. My
Or I can try and find it, but I'm taking notes right now, so I can't dig in my email and do that too.
a couple of like process things also. It related to that is I think I am responsible for sending the transcripts for anybody from Somerville High who applied. So yeah, I would just need I mean, I guess I could go through each email and just pull the names from there. I can do that and just send the
Let me see if I can do a download into like an Excel spreadsheet, right? So that maybe make it a little easier than you having to manually type it in or something.
We
yeah, I mean,
only,
Eric will, okay.
we only need the transcripts for the finalists, right? For the
Oh,
people.
that's what we decided, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Because
mean,
they're
on a
self-reporting
certain
GPA,
level,
right?
Yep.
on a
Right.
certain level, we're just trusting.
Correct.
And
You're right.
then we're
You're right.
verifying once we've made our selections. But yeah, so you don't have to do it for everybody, just
Great call.
the like special,
Yeah.
the ones we select.
Just as a heads up, I've been reading some of these essays, and some of them they've just been using ChatGPT. It's been a
Yeah.
couple minutes already for that one.
I'm not surprised.
Some of them are very beautiful though. It's like
Yeah.
it's been a very wonderful weird day as far as getting sworn in, and then a couple of high schoolers were breaking glass outside of my place. And then reading some of these letters, I was like, wow, it's really the duality of childhood right
Yeah,
now.
really, really on the whole spectrum.
Full spectrum.
Jinx, Darcy. So, okay, and then my other question is, I know that Sherry really did this last year, but I don't know if anybody reached out to any other schools.
Hmm.
And it was public, it was on the website, it was
Yeah.
on social media, like it was out there. It's not like it was a secret, but I
Right.
did have this wondering of like, oh, last year we emailed the Catholic
Mhm.
schools, the charter schools.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know if we
Yeah.
got any applications from them.
Yeah. And we didn't get many last year either.
No, we got a couple
So,
We
though.
got a handful though from
yeah, I
them.
mean, it did go
Somerville.
out. Anyone who lives in Somerville who pays taxes got the notice,
Okay,
right?
all right.
I got the
That-
notice.
Yeah.
It went out. I saw it on social media. I saw it in the city
Okay.
email. So,
Great.
I think we definitely can up our game on notifying people,
Totally.
but I do feel like it went out through several different
Okay.
channels. So,
Great.
so people hopefully saw it.
We-
Is our is
Okay.
the is the
Okay.
deadline midnight tonight? Were we that specific?
I
Or
don't
is it
think we were that
11:59?
specific.
Okay,
I
so a
don't think
couple
we were that
more might still
specific,
come
yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have about, I think last year we had maybe 46 or something if memory serves. So we
Okay.
do have a lower number. So I think definitely, Melanie, to your point, we
Yeah.
could do better about outreach, and Cherry did reach
Yeah.
out to quite a few.
Well, I'll also say, just as the person working with the high schoolers, there's easily going to be 10 more. Like this is when
Right.
they're going to
They're
submit
gonna
it.
be-
If
yeah,
it's
yeah.
due
maybe
today,
They're
like this is
desperately
when,
writing right now.
yes, yes, which
Or
is how I would have done it
ChatGPTing
as
right
well.
now.
So like, so I just, yeah, that's, yeah, so our number may go up.
That would
So.
be good.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many are there so far? I haven't looked yet.
Eric said there were 32. I just looked briefly, but I didn't count them.
Okay. All right. I also, for what it's worth, I was going to bring this up because I saw the city of Cambridge posted about their scholarship application. And they give out 80 scholarships that are $3,000 each. So just as a point of reference, for our neighboring city,
We got some work to do.
yeah, we could definitely build things up. So yeah, and it looks like their requirements are very similar. Must be a Cambridge resident, any age, must be attending or admitted to an accredited post-secondary institution for the 2025-26 academic year, and a one-time award paid directly to the institution.
Do
So it's
you
not
think
ongoing, but they do, a one-time $3,000 gift, but they give out 80 of them.
Yeah. Do you think it would be helpful for one of us to sit down with one of their other committee members to see, just obviously they have a bigger budget, it seems like, if they're going to do 80 at 3 for 1 year. But like, as a percentage of their budget, talk to them, get to understand their process. Since we're kind of building this process from the ground up again, it might be helpful for one of us to go and, sit down for a coffee, just to understand, what their own metrics are, how they go through working through their budgets. And also, if they have a system in place, things we can take and learn from that experience.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think we should probably do it after this,
Yes,
award
yeah.
season, when
This
it's
is where we got to, let's focus on finishing this year, and then great idea.
but yeah, it would be, this committee had been disbanded and we tried to kind of like rebuild it, so we could definitely use some pointers. But yeah, anyway, just thought I'd point that out since it popped up on my Facebook.
I think I just counted. I think it's 37 right now.
Okay.
So close. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, I found something in the SharePoint drive.
Oh,
I'll
great.
share my screen. I think this is the latest and greatest.
I think
but
Linda needs help on muting.
thank you, Matt.
Right, so you have to pay attention to the open meeting law.
Yeah.
You can't just like go meet, with Cambridge or whatever. If you, I mean, you can't discuss business because that would be a violation. So I just want you to be mindful of
Understood.
that. Now, when I
Understood.
worked there years ago, and I mean, it's a different administration now, but back then they just picked kids. They just read it, you know, it was a group of people sitting around just like you guys, and that's how they did it back then. Maybe it's changed. All right, thank you.
Awesome. No, that's good information to know. Um, we are, as far as making this budget and kind of building this out, I'd love to kind of understand, maybe there's a way we can kind of pull through their meetings or like their own files on record that they have and, getting it from that way instead of like sitting down and meeting, but yeah,
Yeah.
understood.
Yeah, but I know we've talked about raising the increased amount to $2,000.
Mhm.
Right.
So yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. One
Did
step
you
at a
want to
time.
share what you found, Cindy?
Yes, let me. Um, okay, so I think this is it. Can you guys see my screen?
Not yet. Oh, there we go.
Taking a while, yes.
Yeah.
So basically the guidelines for ratings, so academic ratings, so this is pretty straightforward. This is a GPA.
Mhm.
And Melanie, you talked about the transcripts, but last year, I don't think people included the transcripts, but I don't think anyone really looked at them. We just kind of took, the applicants for their word.
Mhm.
So student contribution scale. I can let you guys read through this, right?
Yep.
But basically, 1 through 5. A little bit of subjectiveness built into some of these, but
Mhm.
for the most part, we tried to make them as clear as possible, so that way the scoring would be as consistent as possible and standardized.
Is
So
that
Matt,
the
you
end
have
of
any
it?
questions?
Mhm.
Oh, go ahead, Melanie.
Is there more to scroll down to, Cindy, or no?
Yep, I just wanted
Oh,
to
okay,
make sure,
okay.
Matt, if you have questions.
Nope, this all makes sense.
So context rating, so this is some of the factors that we were trying to kind of, gear towards. The X rating, right, doesn't hinder the student in the process. Actually, I don't even remember, to be honest, what the X rating is. Darcy or Melanie, do you remember? I remember we had an
I-
X rating to flag someone who I thought was kind of first gen and had financial need.
No, I
But-
think it was the other way around, actually. Can you scroll down a little bit?
Yep.
Just to see. I think it was that,
Oh, they got
yeah.
an X or a 10
So
point.
an X is like, I don't know. I don't know how the formula is. I don't remember it, honestly, but it's meant to not penalize the
Right.
student for not
Yep.
having these things and only like give the extra points, but not
Yeah.
give like a 0.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because
I don't really fully understand it, but
yeah, but I think the options was X, right, for not giving the points, or 10, and that
Right.
student would get 10 points.
Yeah.
And these were some
Yeah.
of the
Just a way of
reasons why.
differentiating those with special
Right.
circumstances. Yeah.
Yep, okay, thank you. Thank you too for helping me remember. So this is recommendations, basically whether or not the student submitted their recommendation. And then anything that stands out with the recommendations, there's 1 or 2 points.
Yeah. Did we
Got it.
keep the recommendations as required, or are they optional?
they're optional. I don't
Okay.
even, yeah.
Yeah.
There's something for essays, I believe, but this is the end of
Well,
the
I
sheet.
do actually remember now that I'm glad we're doing this, that I had a hard time because the essays and the extracurriculars are mushed together in this. If you go up, it's
I see.
their contribution is about how well they write about it, but it could be that a kid, I don't
Doesn't
know,
write
has been
well.
working for 5 years and has this and has that, but like maybe their essay wasn't that strong, but so I
Yeah.
do wonder if we could tease those out because I think those are both important but separate.
Right.
Do you want to pull them into separate categories
Maybe, yeah.
and just have similar scoring, but then just our total scores will be more, but just have that extra
Yeah.
Like,
in.
Yeah,
one
because
is
I think it's
activities.
exactly. I think it's activities or how involvement, all of that, and then I think it's their essay, and I would, yeah, and I think the important part about, well, we should look back at the essays to make sure we're capturing whatever we had them write about. I want to make sure we're rating them on, right? So that it's not just that they wrote about something
Yeah,
for
I
no
mean, if you
reason.
look at the student contribution scale, right, by the time you get to 4 or like 3, right, it starts to highlight connections to Somerville. One of the main categories is like, what does Somerville education mean to you? So I think this student contribution scale fits pretty easily into the essay scoring, but the
Yeah,
activities, I think
oops,
you're right,
sorry.
stands as its own kind of point in contention.
Yeah, so
And I
this,
think we don't have a place currently where we have them write 500 words about how they would use the funds and 500 words about how they overcame an obstacle.
Yep.
And there's nowhere where we're necessarily, other than if it happened, if one of those obstacles happens to be one of those check marks of like, I think we're not rating them on that. So I think
Yep.
that's important. Um,
okay. So thoughts on how we want to, for the student contribution scale,
Hmm.
the note I have is just to change to essay scoring, because the score does seem to align to the essay. Melanie, are you
yeah.
thinking we have kind of two of these scores, like one for each essay? Or should we just lump them together, if you will, for simplicity?
Um, I'm open to either. I think if we had them do something in the application, it should be reflected in the ratings. So if we feel like yeah, I would almost say 3. We had them write 3 essays. I almost wonder if, and I don't know that it needs to be written out this, like what 1 to 5 is. I think we can probably use our judgment of 1 to 5 for each essay, but it's like, I don't know.
I think there's something to be said, just because the first essay, right, it's how you would use this funds, right? And so if we go down to the context ratings, the X, not first generation, not DACA, no high financial need, you're basically going to run right into that kind of being almost the tent pole that holds up that first essay. So for that one, I almost feel like by the time we get to understand our context ratings, it kind of is almost a circular reference in of itself, right? The how you would use the money might differentiate itself across the barriers, but for the most part, those essays will kind of dive into kind of those context ratings of, we're kind of experiencing financial trouble. I'm the first person in my family to go to college, right? My parents make less than 75,000. It's a common theme that I've kind of seen through these essays so far. That might not always be the case, right? There are some kids who have very specific plans about using it for books, take the financial pressure off, right? Allow me to build up a case for an internship. But more often than not, I think we could probably do the challenges, right? And then, or at the very least, and then the Somerville contributions for education. The first one of financial aid, I think, is something that almost fits into that context rating so much.
Yeah.
Hesitant to add, well, we can obviously add more scoring, but then we would need to kind of recalibrate that X factor just to make sure the scale is still relevant, if that
Yep.
makes sense. Because if we break this current question to 4 different ones, then that score just changes. So the X factor score of 10, we should probably increase just so that it does have more of an impact.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard because
Maybe
are
we
we,
do 2 essays or something, or well, because we're gonna add essays and then activities.
yeah. I think it's tricky. Like, what if one essay is really to put them
Really
into
good, but
one?
yeah, what if
What if
one's
they answer the
awesome and the other
question
two are awful,
the other
right?
one they like ramble and they don't answer the question,
I think then you just kind of have to judge it on the context of all 3, right? You give someone a 3 if they get a great first essay, and then the extra other 2 are kind of like,
Yeah,
I like school. School was good to me. School fun,
yeah.
right?
I'm sorry about that. My daughter had a question.
No,
Um, so I can,
Yeah, I guess I don't know how involved recalibrating would be, so it's hard for me to answer that. I don't remember what the like formula is at the end, or is it just a total of points?
there's a total of points. And then we tested, I mean, Eric has the best knowledge about this because he's the one that kind of worked on the scoring.
Yeah,
But it worked out when we scored everything, kind of the students that the committee thought deserved it, the scholarships, if you will, that with the X factor, it did kind of bump their scores up,
Mhm.
even if they had like, awesome everything else, GPA, activities, all of the other things.
Would, I guess I'm having a hard time understanding why we have to recalibrate if we add a 1 through 5 for each, like,
Well,
'cause isn't it
I guess
just
that's a good
adding it?
question, if we would, because right now, these 10 points that, for the X factor, they would bump students up. That when we
Wouldn't they
went
bump
through
them
the
up no
process,
matter what?
The percentage of which it contributes to the overall score goes from 50
right?
to 25 or
So,
Yeah.
something like that. Well, I mean, which becomes a very simple kind of, we just properly weight the increases based on the amount of additions, right? So if we add two more
Yeah.
things, we just bump it up 10 points. If we add one, we bump it up 5.
right, so not a big deal, if you will, but just kind of a note, because then if someone has, let's say someone has a great need, but maybe some of the other parts of the application isn't quite as strong as somebody else, then this 10 points just won't have as much of an impact.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning back towards keeping the essays kind of just one score.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay.
It's going to be the most subjective of all 3 categories, no matter which way you slice it. It's just, I think the question then becomes really after a certain point, it'll become more of the nuanced art form of when we get to the top 10, right? Where like we'll start to parse through each one of those essays in such a granular function that I think by just keeping it to the basic level of, and I think we could also, debate it a better way. It's almost a method of madness, right? If we saying that, how we want to establish that 1 through 5 scale will be important, but it should still allow us the ability to properly identify all 3. And if we feel like there's something really, really strongly where it's like someone did really, really well on one, like broke your heart, but the other 2 were bad, I think we can just call that out in the meetings in the minutes and say, hey, can you take an extra space to look at Manit, right? His essay was amazing, but the other 2 were bad. How do we want to perceive this particular case?
Yeah.
But also maybe when
I-
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
When we start reviewing the applications in more detail, maybe we will get the feeling, okay, maybe we should break out certain of the essays. So we don't have to, we can go back and edit the form. So this doesn't, have to be the final.
Nothing's Bible, yeah.
Yeah, we can go back and say, hey, we should do this or that category.
Yeah, I just wonder when that would like, I think if we're gonna come back to the form, then we probably won't be having a discussion on April 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Which
we'd
if
have-
we're all okay with that, that's fine, but I think I think where I'm stuck, and I'm happy to be outvoted, is, we ask students to write 500 words about how they overcame adversity, and we're nowhere are we. Like, it feels like they're very different questions, like how, like, has the Somerville community, like shaped you and how you contributed, like that piece and overcoming adversity.
Mhm.
I just want to make sure it's represented, like that they sort of get credit for writing it. And I'm okay if it's just the simplest thing to keep it in one essay thing. I think that's fine. I just want to keep both of those together. And I definitely think the activities need to come out.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to some of the applications from last year, but I feel like, there were some essays where a kid really like hit it out of the park and then kind of just didn't try very hard on the other 2, or, it was just such a, I feel like it was like sometimes better to just look at them holistically, all 3 together. And then there were also, language issues sometimes too, right? Where it's clear that like
yeah.
they were expressing what we wanted to hear, but there was a language barrier, right? And it's like, so I don't know, there's
Yeah.
such a hard range that it's already really pretty subjective.
I'm fine with keeping it all together. I think that's fine.
And I think that I kind of struggle with a little bit is like I agree that we should have this Somerville question in there, But everything in terms of making the decision, a lot of it is kind of need-based.
Mhm,
So it's nice to have that Somerville community piece of it,
mhm.
but when it comes ultimately to the decision.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree. And I think, and I say this only because, we have recently we every year we're reviewing our other scholarship application that we do it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I've learned a lot from that. And I really think that before we break for the summer, we need to redo the application this year. Because I
Yeah.
think we come back in September, or
Mhm.
we winds up
We
being
forget.
October, and we're like, it'll be fine, let's talk about it next time. And then all of a sudden we're a year out and we don't remember how hard this was to, so I think we need to, before we break for the summer, look at the application, make sure the rubric matches, make sure we're asking all the questions we want to ask and do that whole thing, if I could make a recommendation.
Yeah,
And Melanie, I
definitely.
was going to ask, did you hear feedback from any of the students about the application process?
No. No, I didn't really. I mean, I know they were working on it. Like, I knew students were working on it. They talked to me about that, but I didn't hear anything significant in terms of like, oh, this is hard, or I'm confused, or, anything like that. I mean, the reality is if they did our scholarship application, they could do a lot of reusing an essay, which I told them to do, like,
Right, yeah.
so,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah.
So then so this is going to be the activity scale. Okay, so what should one be? Let me highlight this in red just so that everyone knows the changes. So students submitted some information possibly incomplete. Are we okay keeping that as one?
Or I would almost say, because I think it's less about what information they submit. I would say like little to no activities, or,
Yeah, just blank.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No activities, 0 to 1 activity. Like, I almost feel like it's not all
Yeah.
about numbers, right? But like,
It
Right.
helps to make it standard, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Go to one activity. So two would be,
Yeah, I would say a few, 1 to 2 long-term commitments, or several smaller activity. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I
I
think
almost feel like,
it's
Go
also
ahead.
not just number, right? It's like
Yeah,
depth of
exactly.
I
commitment
think
Yeah.
like
too,
five
right?
is like a leadership or, deeply involved,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
leader, or, go
I
ahead, Melanie.
Deeply or broad,
wonder
right?
if, do we need to give it a description? You know what I mean? Like, I think there's so many different things that could happen. Like,
Mhm.
can we just trust ourselves to do 1 through 5? And like,
Yeah.
at least, and if I'm doing it, mine are all going to be calibrated the same, right? Like, maybe Darcy would give a 2 for a kid that I would give a 3 to, but we would give all the same. So it would
And
wind up still being top.
I think it's also fair to say that, we're going to feel this out and kind of come up with the descriptions as we go through the applications, right? And it might be something that, trust it for 1 through 5 for now. And then, as we sit down and say, well, what did your 1 to 5 look like, right? And then we say, well, there was nothing there, right? And then by 5, it says, not only were there like 4 or 5 really, really good activities, but they created a sense of community, right? We can measure that, right? As far
Yeah.
as social outreach, so on and so forth.
We don't have to do 1 through 5. We could do like 1 through 5. Would that be okay with people? Again, just to kind of simplify, do we need 5 different scales for activity?
I feel like I want all the numbers.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. I mean,
I'm the person that
sometimes
if you give me
might
1 or
help.
2, I'll give you 1.5.
I mean, that might help distinguish sometimes, so
I know. Second.
that's fine.
Okay.
I don't want to be the end vote on that if people are okay
Oh,
with that.
no,
I
no.
I
just,
like 1 through
Yeah,
5
I think
too.
it's fine.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So basically, it's just the student calibrate. We didn't change any of the ratings, the rankings. It was just the title, so just change it to essay scoring.
Okay.
Yeah, so I
And-
do wonder if we need to change some of that description, because it does only mention the Somerville one.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, and also like activities.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right,
Right. We
right.
just need to take out because that was combined. So just we need to student
Yep.
submitted essays, not activities.
Um,
So essays,
Probably highlights connection to Somerville, emphasizes need, and discusses what challenges. Hitting the main three themes of all.
besides disciplines. Challenges.
and then I think there was a piece about Somerville, it was like
Yeah,
mentions Somerville connection or
Somerville
highlights, yeah.
community.
So discusses,
It was like highlights Somerville connection, I think.
Mhm.
okay, thank you. Connection. So clear writing thoughtfully.
I mean, I think we can keep this and maybe just add like discusses challenges and
Yeah.
how they overcame them or something, like.
Yep.
Yeah, challenges. Um. Needs, and connection to the city. I'll just remove this, shorten that, and post high school plans articulated or listed. And then 5 is impeccable
Can
writing.
you, sorry,
Oh,
Cindy, can we go
yeah.
back? Because 2,
Okay.
3, and 4 look pretty similar now. Can we maybe write that, like, I don't know, they talk about how they overcame the challenges as like sort of the next
Yep.
step up,
Yeah,
not
definitely,
just
thoughtfully,
to differentiate 3 and 4.
yeah,
Yep.
thoughtfully identify how challenges come, um, need and connection to the city. How does that sound?
I think it's good.
And then 5 is impeccable writing. So challenges, needs, and connection to Somerville are highlighted. And I'll just delete this and then keep that sentence, post high school plans are well detailed and conveyed.
And maybe I'm trying to think like
Awesome.
what the next, because I liked actually that Eric had deep connection, just, or I don't, there was
Mhm.
something about
Yeah.
So, and deep connection.
to Somerville, and I would maybe add for the adversity one, like reflection on, like, you know what I mean? Like, I guess that's the next step, right? Like the challenges, how you overcame them, and then like reflecting on the challenges. I don't know if anybody has another idea, but
And needs and deep connection to some of are highlighted. How does that look?
Yep.
It doesn't have a period at the end, so I'm just gonna, okay. So let me highlight. I think these were the 3 we changed. Correct. Oh, I think we changed 2, so I'm just gonna highlight that in red.
okay.
Okay. So how does the form look to everybody now?
I think good. I
like
think
the
the
changes.
last question is, are we going to change the weighting for the X factor, right? Or the 10, right? The context ratings.
So we added 2, no, we just added one
One new scale.
Mhm.
Should we try changing it to 15? Or do you think
That's
that's
what
too much?
I think that's what my gut instinct says, right? Just based off of how we were doing the math earlier.
Darcy, Melanie, what do you think?
Yeah, sure. if we want it as like a distancer, right? Then
Yeah, do we want it as percentage or like, you know what I mean?
a multiplier.
Right, we added 5 points, are we adding 5 points to this, or is it we added 5 points out of?
Let's try shifting it to 15
We'll try it, yeah.
I
and
think it
then,
is what it is.
and
yeah.
then, we have our discussion.
Right,
Yeah.
we can see how everything falls out because I
Mhm.
think it becomes pretty clear
Yeah.
once we total up all the scores.
Yep.
Yeah. And then in the past, for the reviewing applications, we've met in person. Do you
Mhm.
feel like you want to do it over Zoom or would you rather hash it out around the table?
I was
think in
actually just gonna
person.
ask that. I think in
Okay.
person is much
Yeah,
better.
just so
for
we
this.
can make the
Yeah, me
decisions.
too.
Okay.
And just in case we I don't want to accidentally share a
Yeah.
personal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
someone pulls up the wrong screen, I don't know.
Yeah, totally. So we'll just have to see if Linda could maybe get the library that Thursday night.
Mhm.
And then would it need to be at 7? Melanie, for
If
you?
it's in person, it doesn't matter. Tonight, I'm just solo parenting, so.
Okay.
Usually we meet at 6. Is that the?
In the past, we've done 6,
Usually,
yeah.
yeah. Does
Yeah,
that
so
work for you, Matt?
Works for me.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's try for 6. And I don't know if Linda's on right now, but when I send her the notes, I
Oh,
can
I think
There she
she's,
is.
maybe.
I saw a
I
flash.
saw a movement,
I
yeah.
saw
Yeah,
flicker.
While she comes in,
Yeah.
Matt, just so you know where that room is, I don't know if you're familiar with the Somerville Library, the like main one next to the high
Yep.
school. If you come in past the circulation desk and just walk back, like
Yep.
past the bathrooms, I think. It's
All
just in
too
the
well.
back right, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we'll just have to ask because I know that there's a D&D club that meets there, like on kind of alternating. So we'll have to see if we're on schedule or off schedule with them.
I can
If-
talk to the D&D kids. I'm fluent with those. Those are my kind of people. Those are my kind of people.
I know it's not a very big room though.
Yeah, so if someone could just send me an email about the time,
Okay.
and then I'll ask Kathy.
Okay.
She
Thank
says
you.
yes, so I think it's gonna be fine.
Okay,
And I don't
great.
know why
Yeah,
I can't-
I'll do that when I send you the notes.
Okay, all right,
The
thank you.
minute.
Okay.
I guess
Awesome.
the other thing too, because Eric needs to make these changes, and then I guess once he has that link, and I guess he has to figure out, I guess we need instructions, if you will, in terms of how he's going to use that ID.
Mhm.
So is that okay that he sends out in an email, Linda? A link to the Google form, basically, I guess.
So why don't let me be the go-between, okay? So give me
Yeah,
me a
perfect.
list of what to ask him, and then I'll ask him, and then so that you guys aren't doing anything.
Okay.
I just don't want to run afoul of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
So do you want us to tell you now? So I think it's just,
Well, no, if you could write it, because
okay,
Yeah.
that would be helpful, and then I could just send it to him
yep.
without, yeah, okay. that
Here,
would
I can type it up. Melanie, if you want to, I'll start my email. If you
Okay.
just rattle it off, I'll just type it up.
Is
Thank
what
you.
we need Eric to do. So we need him to change the rating form according to our notes, and Cindy highlighted in red what we changed
And I added the link to the chat.
for the form, yeah, okay, thank you. And then we need him to download all the applications and anonymize them in the most simple way possible.
Possibly just date, timestamp
Yeah, something like that.
the email, and so it'll be easy to look up.
Okay. I cannot spell anonymize, apparently. There we go. Okay.
A lot of N's and.
Yeah, it was just, I missed a Y there. Okay. Displayed by. Okay. And we just need that as fast as possible because we'll review it in
Yeah,
3 weeks, a little less.
yeah,
than-
it's 2.5 weeks from now, so I think
Yeah, but there's not
maybe
so many, so.
there's not, and I think once you get into it, it's just.
Good
Pretty
rhythm.
quick.
Yeah.
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 And then
Okay.
if we don't finish it, we have the May 15th meeting if we really need it, but I think ideally we make the final decision.
Yeah, it'd be
in April.
really nice to have it done before May, because so much, then we could actually maybe, like, when is the scholarship like presentation for the high school? Because like it'd be nice if we could get folded in with that,
Yeah.
because it gets announced at the school, right?
Yeah, so the Somerville Public Schools one is May 29th.
Okay.
If we think we want to do it at that ceremony, we would need to like know that
Yeah.
now. Just because like there's a lot that's being planned. All
Yeah.
the presentation order will already be done by then, and there's all sorts of things like so.
Yeah. I just, I think it'd be really nice, right? Some of these students, maybe they won't get another scholarship, right? So this might be their one chance to kind of feel
Yeah.
like honored by the city, or,
Yeah. And then the one thing to just consider is if a non-Somerville High student
Right.
gets it, we would just invite, like they could come too. It's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Okay.
So why don't I, in preparation for the April 17th, I will identify what needs to happen, like what information we need and what steps need to be taken to make sure like, do we need the high school to print certificates? Are we bringing our own? Like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I just think if that was a goal last year, if we could get folded in this year, that'd be great. If we can kind of start to get on the same schedule,
Yeah.
so that it's all part of this kind of citywide or at least school-wide celebration.
Yeah, it'll be good publicity to help get the word out too.
Mhm.
And then I think the last thing we need is, I guess Eric just sends the link to Linda when it's activated,
Okay.
and then Linda will share it with us, and then we can start going through the applications and scoring them.
Okay. And that's the link to the folder or the file with the,
Yeah, it's the Google link to the Google form.
okay. Okay. Great. All right. Is there anything else?
I think
I
so.
think we're set.
Balance is golden.
Okay, I'm gonna go hope my kids are asleep. We'll see.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah.
Matt, it was nice to have the first meeting with you.
It was
So,
awesome, guys.
again.
Yeah, welcome.
This is
Yeah.
a wonderful, wonderful experience. I'm really glad to be doing this with y'all.
Yeah, it'll be great to have your perspective when we talk about the application. So yeah, hopefully that'll be in person. And Linda, I'll send you the minutes and what we need from Eric, and then also
I'm
request-
gonna,
you're muted
I know
again.
I've asked to unmute.
Okay.
It's a process.
Something about these meeting settings, man.
Okay.
I think because it's a webinar and a city thing, it's like
Haunted.
default. Yeah.
Cursed.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank
okay.
you everyone for your time tonight. Matt, welcome. And I was waiting to have Matt on board before I sent the rejection email to the other candidate. So
Okay.
I'm going to be doing that. Okay, so that's going to happen tomorrow. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
Thanks,
guys.
Linda, for helping with that.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Good night, everybody.